Hello everyone and welcome to our latest engine replica built in automation game. Yes, my friends, we are back with a brand new legendary engine replica in automation game. Because what we have here, gentlemen, is of course legendary, the one and only the BMW P60B40 V8 engine replica in automation. Yes, my friends, this is a brilliant engine, one of the rarest and one of the most special engines ever produced by BMW, of course, at the time, and it was fitted to one of our all-time favorite racing car ever. So of course, let's talk about some history here and let's test the engine. Let's talk about what kind of parts you need to use in automation, and let's see what's what. So a little history behind this brilliant engine. The P60B40 is actually a 4-liter V8 engine produced by BMW at the time alongside their V10, the BMW V10 engine that was used to power the Williams Formula One car at the 2001 Formula One season. Now, this brilliant engine actually is like really one of a kind because it's only a 4-liter V8, but none of that matters because what really made us fall in love with this engine is of course the car that spawned it, the car that made us love this particular engine, which was of course the E46 BMW M3 GTR. That legendary car of course made us fall in love with this engine, of course, because it was the mascot, the face of our all-time favorite racing game, Need for Speed Most Wanted, because of its looks, because of its performance, and of course because of its straight cut gear sound, and of course because of its engine and the story and the game itself. That car was amazing. That car was legendary, not only in games, it was also legendary in real life because BMW actually only made 10 of these cars. Can you imagine 10 cars only with this particular engine, 10 prototypes, which of course they used in their American Le Mans season and of course in the European Le Mans race at the time, alongside Porsches and other, of course, other manufacturers. Anyway, the story is actually amazing. It's dramatic because thanks to this engine, BMW actually won a lot of races. They won around 7 out of 10 of the seasons back then, which made Porsche actually to complaining that BMW was violating the American Le Mans rules. They are violating the spirit of Gran Turismo, which of course which forced BMW to produce 10 road legal GTR models and putting them on sale, which they were amazingly expensive. And again, they changed rules again, forcing BMW to make more cars, but BMW dropped out of the Le Mans season at the time until of course they introduced the later BM3 model. Anyway, we all know this story. Let's talk about the parts, what kind of parts I used to create a replica of this amazing engine in automation game. Alright, so this is the engine in particular. This is the engine that I made in automation game, and of course let's go over all the parts that I used, of course, to create this beast in automation game. A couple of disclaimers. Number one, I used the year 2020 to get all the possible and the best materials and parts in the game. I know the engine was made in 2001, but to get the best parts, let's say it was replicated in 2020, which is the maximum year in automation. Number two, the production year and the man hours and the engineering time, these numbers are not realistic. I had to use a lot of quality, like I had to spam the quality a little bit to get the correct numbers, the power and the torque. So yes, you just ignore these numbers because they don't really matter. We are creating a replica of an engine. Alright, let's start with the parts. Of course, being the first thing to start with is of course the bore and stroke. The official bore and stroke of this brilliant 90 degrees V8 that was made entirely from aluminium are 94 millimeters on the bore and 92.0 millimeters on the stroke, which equals 3,997 cc engine. This was the official bore and stroke for this brilliant engine. Number two, of course, is the valve or the heads and valves. Well, this particular engine used a double overhead camshaft with 4 valves per cylinder, equals 32 valves in total. As I mentioned, the engine was made entirely from aluminium, the block and the cylinder head materials, both of them were made from aluminium or aluminum, whatever word you want to use. Of course, being a 2001 engine, being a racing engine, this engine didn't actually use any kind of like VVL or VVT, because of course it was meant to go racing, not to be efficient or a road going engine. It was just proper racing engine. Moving on, of course, the engine is running with a forged steel flat plane crankshaft. Yes, my friends, this particular one is using a flat plane crankshaft, a forged steel one. Of course, the connecting rods were heavy-duty forged steel connecting rods as well, and the pistons also were forged steel-made pistons. So basically, you have forged internals all the way. Moving on, of course, with the compression ratio. This particular engine used a 12.021 compression ratio, which was actually very high at the time, like because this was 2001 back then, and they're like a lot of like 99% of engines used multi-point EFI similar to this engine, and using this particular high compression ratio made this engine actually very powerful and not bad actually on fuel economy. And for a racing engine, it was actually very nice. So as you can see, I went with 70 points on the cam profile to get the correct power and torque numbers. As I mentioned, no VVL, no VVT, and yes, as I mentioned, I quality spammed this engine to get the correct numbers. So yes, ignore this. Moving on, of course, this engine obviously is naturally aspirated. Of course, this engine came from the factory with multi-point EFI system. Yes, not direct fuel injection, no, it came with a multi-point EFI at the time. Also, this particular engine, a lot of people did mistake this, including myself, because I did create a video in the past and I made this mistake. I thought this engine used twin throttle bodies, but unfortunately no, this engine would actually use a throttle per cylinder setup. That means you have 8 throttles. Now, the airbox or the air filter that BMW used at the time had like a big fat box on the top with 2 snorkels or 2 things sticking out of it, which made it look like twin throttles, but no, it was actually a throttle per cylinder setup, 8 ITBs as they call them, individual throttle bodies. Anyway, as you can see, I went with the performance, being a racing engine, but also it had an air filter. That means it's performance. Yes, if you go with the race, you will end up with something like this, which is absolutely not identical at all. So I went with a performance. Also, I went with 95 octane fuel. I'm not really sure what kind of fuel it used. Like, I searched everywhere. I'm not sure if it used racing fuel or premium fuel or super fuel. Anyway, I didn't need octane anyway. I didn't need the octane. This engine ran happily at 93, 94 octane. So I didn't really need any higher octane than this. And it won't really make any difference in automation. It won't add horsepower. So I just kept the 95. I used 12.5 air fuel ratio, 75 on the ignition, and 8500 RPM limit, which was the official RPM limit on this engine. Again, plus 15 quality, don't worry about it. I had to use it to get the correct numbers. Moving on with the exhaust. Well, my friends, as you can see, I went with long tubular headers, the dual exhaust pipes. I know the BM3 GTR had a single exhaust pipe, but I went with dual here to get the correct numbers. Excuse me for that. And I went with a 2.2-inch exhaust diameter, or 57.1 millimeters, high flow catalytic converter, no first muffler, and of course double reverse flow second mufflers to keep it quiet. It's super loud, don't worry about it, but I had to use this to get the correct numbers. I'm not really sure if the racing car had any kind of mufflers. Being a racing car, maybe it had a straight pipe exhaust system. I'm not really sure, but I had to use this muffler to get the correct numbers. Also, plus 15 quality here. And of course, the results speaks for themselves. 444 horsepower at 7500 RPM, 354, you can say, pound-feet of torque at 5700 RPM. Now, the real engine got this much torque at 5500. Here is 5700, so we jumped at 200, a little bit more, which won't really matters that much. Of course, being a quality crazy spammed engine, the reliability is through the roof, which is not really like the real engine. And as you can see, the octane rating is 93. Yeah, so I didn't have to use any more crazy higher octane engine. Throttle response is extremely high, which is awesome. The noise, it says 33, but it's actually, oh my god, it's actually very loud, so prepare yourselves. All right, and of course now it's time to fire it up and enjoy some amazing proper flat plane V8 BMW M3 P60B40 love. All right, so let's fire it up. Alright, and as you can see, the results are absolutely amazing. Amazing noise, amazing performance. I mean, this is a proper powerful engine. I mean, if you think about it, the year was 2001. It's a 4-liter engine, 4-liter, and it's naturally aspirated, and it's making this, and it was making this much power. Like seriously, BMW engineers at the time, they really pushed this engine to the max. They couldn't squeeze any more horsepower out of it at the time, which made this engine very, very, very powerful against all of its competitors, like as I mentioned, Porsche with their flat six engines and other competitors on the track. It was a proper legend, and of course, being the same engine that powered, of course, our favorite car, the M3 GTR BMW E46 in Need for Speed Most Wanted, made that car even more legendary. Now, to be honest with you, I really love that car. Like, I fell in love with it the moment I saw the CD, because back then we used to buy CDs to play games, and I still remember this vividly. I bought Need for Speed Most Wanted, the CD. I bought it before I even bought the console. I didn't have the console back then. I haven't bought it yet, the PS2, the PlayStation 2, but I bought the game before it because I saw the game at my friend's house, and I saw the console, and I really wanted to buy one, but I couldn't afford it at the time. So I bought the CD, I kept it, and I still remember it like clearly until this day. I still remember the M3 GTR on the cover of that CD sliding, but it was just amazing, and that's one of the reasons that I fell in love with this car, and I was more than happy to create such an amazing and legendary engine in automation game. So that's pretty much it, my friends. I really hope that you love this engine as much as I do. I really hope that you like it, and if you do make it in your automation game, let me know in the comment section below if you get the same numbers or not. I would love to know that. Again, I'm using the latest automation version at the date of this video. So yes, thank you so much everyone for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up, get subscribed, share the video if you want to share it, and of course, big thanks to all of my Patreon subscribers for supporting me and giving me more motivation to do more and more and more for you guys. So thank you so much for watching, and goodbye for now, my friends.